We are going to start with the bottom feeders of the AFC East last year, potentially the bottom feeders of the entire league this year. And joining us to talk about the dumpster fire, which is the New England Patriots these days, is big Pats fan Paul Keller. Paul, big fan of the show. You're a day one OG. We appreciate you being on, my friend. How are you?
Thank you, boys. This is great. Quite the opportunity. And hopefully we have a somewhat okay season this year, but probably not going down that road. So,
yeah, it's not too much to be optimistic about before we even dive into this team. Obviously, you're happy as a Patriots fan if Drake May shows he has the potential to be your franchise quarterback at some point throughout the season. And if you start to see growth from some of these young players in your core, particularly who you drafted this year, maybe Jalen Polk and Drake May develop a connection and they look pretty good. And that's something to hang your hat on.
that's about the best way you can put it. Really from the game I watched the other night against Washington, he made some great plays out of the pocket with a good feel. He has great arm talent. My concern is, like you said, with Mayo contradicting himself, please do not put him in there week one. The kid is not ready. He's got ball placement issues. He's got read issues. So, and on top of the fact that offensive line is, I think I could be trying out for the team right now with how bad it is. So that's just something that you want to point out.
You're not wrong, man. You're not wrong.
Love this. I mean, hearing Patriots fans talk like that, I love it. They've been good for too long. So
I know.
This is
hearing
Reagan's
him humble
big moment.
now.
This is his moment of more than 20 years to take the floor and let me have it.
Yeah, I mean, it's the first time ever I look at Patriots fan and I'm just like, now you know how I felt for the past 20 years. But in fairness, unless we get a Super Bowl, I will never know how you felt. So,
yeah, we had a few of those. That was a good run. But again, nowadays it's a pretty empty stadium and some pretty pissed off fans.
We'll just take one.
Yeah, don't blame them, but also
just give me one.
Yeah, I mean, they're being a little greedy after what they just witnessed. But, speaking of that offensive line, some key losses, Riley Reif and Trent Brown. Not ideal. J.C. Jackson, who was kind of washed up. Devontae Parker. If you listened to the pod last year, you know how much I dislike Devontae Parker.
And I was going to say, you're not a Parker fan at all.
Dude does not get separation at all. I do not want to be his quarterback. Mac Jones, obviously the backup in Jacksonville now, and Ezekiel Elliott. Some key adds. Not much here. Jacoby Brissett, Chukwunu Okorafor, and Antonio Gibson. So Okorafor is the only significant free agent added on the offensive line. They did draft Caden Wallace in the third round out of Penn State, but we'll see if that's enough to get the job done in protecting the quarterbacks. Very low win total here at 4.5. They are underdogs in every game this season, and Sharp predicts that they are going to face the second most difficult schedule in the league. It's not looking good for the New England Patriots. Reagan,
it's going to be a bad product.
You could start us off here. Your thoughts on the Patriots. What's your prediction for the season?
Yeah. I mean, maybe I'm a little bit of a hater, but I got them going 2-15 this year. I think
that's a low blow.
It is, but honestly, like what? As long if May doesn't even play this year, you might as well want them to lose out. I mean, the team on paper is terrible. I mean, look at what Carolina put around Bryce Young last year. The teams are very, very similar. And then you're trading away the few good players you have on defense. I mean, I granted, I wouldn't have paid Judon either. It doesn't fit the timeline, but you just traded away one of your best players on the defense. You were already highlighting before the offensive line has a lot of issues. I mean, the weapons, nobody's elite. I mean, there's a lot of guys where you're like, you never know. I mean, obviously, they took Baker in the fourth, and then they took Polk in the second. And I'm a big Pop Douglas guy. He's a guy I'm definitely targeting in best ball fantasy. I think he'll be the number one for Drake May, Jacoby, whoever it is. And then you got the crew of washed-up tight ends between Hunter Henry and Austin Hooper. So that'll be interesting. So, I mean, it's not like he has the worst weapons, definitely better than what the Panthers had last year, but the defense is really going to hold them back. Obviously, they're in a tough division. But yeah, I've been going 2-15. They'll have the first overall pick next year. But hey, the good thing is somebody's going to want to trade for that first overall pick. So you can trade back, get some more capital, really build around Drake May.
Go ahead, Paul. How do you see your Patriots faring in 2024? A little bit more
I'm going to
optimistic?
say, I think a repeat of last year. I think 4-13 is definitely where they max out, which is quite a fall off from the old days. We used to do the opposite, but I'd say that's about as accurate as it gets in terms of their talent is pretty bad at all the positions. I think that the biggest question is this the worst team in football? And the answer to that, I'm going to have to go on a limb and say my team is probably the worst team in football this year.
This is not a biased fan right here.
Not at all, no. I mean, nice to have Onwenu back on the offensive line. He got a big deal in the offseason. Him and David Andrews are the two best offensive linemen. And the rest of the guys, again, I think they got off the scrap heap. I don't even know their names, really. I mean, Polk is a guy, and Javon Baker. There, I think, guys coming out of camp that have shown some promise at receiver, younger guys. Obviously, the situation with Ayuk in San Francisco would have been a nice addition, but his report was, I don't want to play for New England because there's no quarterback situation that's stable there, and I don't disagree with him there. So that would have been a nice addition to a really young crew. I think that it's great to get these guys some reps. Demario Douglas was definitely their best receiver last year.
He led
good
the team
possession
with
guy.
561 yards, but Pop did not score last year. Do you think he scores this year? Do the Patriots score this year?
I will. Again, I was just going to ask that too. I don't even know if we're going to get in the end zone. So we might as well schedule Voorhees High School in the first couple games have a chance. That's how bad it's going to be. But
wow.
Which I'm not used to this because last year they were in a lot of games. I mean, they won 4, but they had a lot of close losses. They had a close loss against the Giants. I believe they had the Colts in there as well. And we always find a way to kind of split with the Jets. So that's always fun back and forth. But
that's your 2 wins. I got them beating. Jets just can't get over the hump.
Right. And I want to say two, but as well with the tight ends, Hunter Henry, his first season with Mac there, with Mac's essentially his Pro Bowl year as a rookie, 9 touchdowns, was a great red zone target. Now, last 2 years has 8 touchdowns combined. Question is, how does the new offensive coordinator, kind of cycle these guys in, get them reps? How are they going to utilize an offense that is so barren and so inexperienced? I don't know what I'm going to be watching this year, honestly.
You're going to do what Reagan and I have done over the last decade for the most part. You're going to watch till halftime, then flick to red zone.
Yeah, red zone will be a good friend to you.
Oh, hopefully, yeah. I did a draft the other day in fantasy, so I'll be watching some other teams, and hopefully, I think I'll actually probably be tuning to the Jets a lot more. That's the team I do have coming out of the AFC to make the Super Bowl. So,
oh hell
yeah!
Yes.
Wow,
love it. Unbiased Patriots fan, if you ever seen one. Holy shit!
Yeah. So I'm actually right in between you guys. I got the Patriots going 3-14. So that means all 3 of us, including the Patriots fan, have them going under their 4.5 win total. This was the worst offense in the league last season. I see similar results for this season, as the guys have highlighted. It's really bleak a talent. And I don't think May is going to start at the beginning of the season, but he has the tools to develop into a really good quarterback. Hence why a guy like Brandon Dable, quarterback whisperer, wanted to trade up and get him. But for the Patriots, that made no sense. They needed a quarterback. Why try to get cute? Just stick and pick your guy. Try to develop him, but also try not to ruin him before he really has the opportunity. Drake excels in play action. He has a big arm. He can move around in the pocket. He can make plays outside the pocket. He can drive the ball over the middle of the field. All things you love to see. He seems like he's mature. He's a leader. He's good in the locker room. He does struggle a little bit with his accuracy, but he does move around well in the pocket, which should help him if he does have to play early behind this bad offensive line. But yeah, he's still raw. He still needs some fine-tuning. He's not as pro-ready as Caleb Williams or Jaden Daniels or Bo Nix or maybe even Michael Penix, who's not starting this year. But, he doesn't have to be right now because there's not high expectations for this team this year. Hunter Henry is going to turn 30. You touched on him, Paul. He's not averaged more than 35.5 yards per game in a single season since joining the Patriots. So for fantasy purposes, I don't even care. Don't want him. He's purely touchdown dependent. And if you have to pick him up off waivers, that's all you're praying for is a touchdown. But for me, Hunter Henry is past his prime. He's really not going to do much in this offense this year. Big thing for the Patriots, Ramondre needs to get back to that 2022 form. He only had 857 total yards on 194 touches last year. He did miss 5 games, but the year prior, he had over 1,400 yards on 279 touches. and he was really good in the passing game. So he says he likes the way that the offensive coordinator is designing the offense. It's a running scheme that fits his talent more with the zone. So hopefully Ramondre takes a step forward, more so like 2022, that could take some pressure off of Drake May when he does come to play, or even help this team move the football and stay competitive. And no wide receivers had a 900-yard season since Edelman in 2019. You're hoping one of these young bucks that were highlighted earlier, Polk or Baker, can step up into that role and be at least a 900-yard receiver. That's not asking too much. Trust me, I've dealt with the Giants, man. We haven't had a 1,000-yard receiver since Odell, so it'd be nice for the Giants to get that going as well. Defensively, more promising than the offense. They were a top 3 team against the run last season. Christian Barmore is a beast on the interior, 8.5 sacks, but was 3rd in PFF's run stop metric, so that's why they were a top 3 team against the run. Anthony Jennings was also great against the run. I like that. Their linebacker core of Jawan Bentley and Jelani Tavia, not big names, but they're also good against the run. Bentley kind of struggled in coverage, but they're a team that's going to stop the run, and you're going to have to beat them through the air. But hopefully Christian Gonzalez, who looked legit in those 4 games last year before being out for the season, he lived up to his draft status. And Belichick was almost like, okay, this guy's just too good of a player right here. Corner's on our biggest need at this point, but he's the best player on our board. We're going to take him, and he looks like a slam dunk. Oh, man, the Commanders really passing on him to take Forbes. It's looking worse and worse. Hopefully Gonzalez can stabilize the back end there with Jonathan Jones. Kyle Duggar, solid. He coming off one of the worst years of his career, though, but he is really good to do it all. Swiss Army knife kind of guy. So is Jabril Peppers, both good against the run and the pass. So I don't mind the secondary here. I think it's a good secondary, honestly, especially if Christian Gonzalez bounces back. The front's okay. Defensively, they're not bad. It's just the offense is so putrid and pathetic. They're going to do the Jets and what the Giants have done over the last decade, and that's play a lot of 17-14, 20-10 type of games. And not going to be a fun team to watch, but 3-14, man. This team, I'd be surprised if they average over 15 points per game.
Yeah, that's great, Colin. Really, again, another great analysis there. Defense is strong with some good talent coming in. Keon White has been the big name out of camp, trying to replace Judon.
Now, Georgia Tech, they took him in the first round last year, I believe. At the end, or was it top of the second?
I believe it was top of the second. Yeah. Now he's a guy with some explosiveness off the edge, big kid. I don't expect him to be Matt Judon from the first snap. I mean, Matt, I still think is a very productive player. Again, didn't fit the timeline, and kind of sad to see him go. But you touched on some great things. I think Christian Gonzalez overall is the best player on the team, which tells you again how great we are. We're having a cornerback,
corner that played 4 games.
Right, played 4 games, and is a second-year player. And then even last year was really Judon was the best player and was for about the past 2 seasons. But yeah, pretty versatile secondary. Jonathan Jones is good in the slot. Duggar has been a great second-round pick. And even Marcus Jones, to have him back there at corner, and he also returns kicks as well, is a pretty explosive player. So we need more guys like that. I'm concerned about the run defense with Barmore being out with the blood clot situation. So, he's out indefinitely. We don't know how that even affects his career. I mean, if it was a career ender, that is a major blow to a defense that, again, has some promise. I even like Josh Uch out of Michigan. I think he's pretty explosive from the linebacker spot. So a lot of different things here. And it's been nice to at least have some talent being picked up from Belichick's analysis in the drafts, because as we know, the receiver position was not one of strength for him. But the defense, I think, will show some signs of promise in some different areas, and it will be the kind of the mainstay of the team, because even special teams is not that amazing, and they just released Chad Ryland, the kicker, today. So good stuff all around for the Patriots.
Our MVPs for the Patriots, Reagan. We'll start with you.
Yeah, I did Ramondre. I mean, he's your best weapon on offense. I mean, we've seen what he can be. He's a 1,400 type of scrimmage guy. So obviously he's going to be the 3-down back. I do think there's a huge role for Antonio Gibson here as well, but I think Ramondre is still going to be the 3-down guy. I do think they're going to kind of scheme up some stuff for Gibson out of the slot, maybe even do some packages with 2 guys on the field. But I mean, he's just going to take so much pressure off of Drake May, or even if it's Jacoby Brissett. I mean, you just need a guy that you can run between the tackles, and and I think he's sneaky for fantasy. I'm probably staying away just because I don't see the touchdown upside there, but from a volume standpoint, he's a guy that's probably going to get 20 touches a game, just purely because they don't have anyone else.
Yeah, I agree with that for sure. I mean, I have him starting in my one league. It's a 2-flex league. So he's my second flex in a top heavy team. And I'm not loving it, but also I think it's sneaky because, like you mentioned, Reagan, I don't need him to give me 20 points. If he can be just a purely volume guy and catch a lot of dump offs from Brissett or May, he could be a sneaky, solid flex play in fantasy this year. Paul, who's your MVP?
I'm going to have to go with Brissett. Hopefully he's healthy for week one. But, I mean, in order to have any kind of competent football team, which is the questions, unfortunately, we now have to ask for the Patriots, you got to have a competent quarterback. And I would hope that maybe he goes the whole year. I mean, I would like to see May fresh start next year. And I know they probably want to get him reps, but let's just keep the kid upright. Let's keep him healthy. I think there's a future there. And I think his ceiling is a lot higher than what Mac Jones's was. And we obviously saw how, you know, when you gave Jones a steady situation in his first year with McDaniels and some okay weapons, but a good line, he did well. And I think that, you know, then we transitioned to the idea with Matt Patricia there, which don't ask me why we did that. And then it was the following season was Bill O'Brien was supposed to reignite him last year.
Which he did. The offense was almost worse than what it was with Bill O'Brien, which seems impossible.
Absolutely horrifying.
I mean, with Matt Patricia, which seems impossible.
Which is insane because I don't think he's ever coached offense before. So I'm about as qualified as he is to do the job, essentially. But I would say Brissett's probably the guy. Hopefully goes the whole year, keeps us in some games, and hopefully is good enough to make it entertaining, but bad enough so we can get the number one spot.
Yeah, you know, I wanted to go Barmore as my MVP and my depoy. Obviously, we don't know his situation. We just hope he's healthy, but for me to go with MVP and depoy on a team that's really bleak of talent, and just I think Barmore is their best player on both sides, but taking him out of the equation for now since we don't know, I'm going to have to agree with Reagan on the MVP of Ramondre, just because he's their best weapon to move the ball and be competitive right now until one of those young receivers proves themselves, or if one of the quarterbacks steps up and actually shows that they can lead this team, which I'm not sold on Brissett that he's going to do that. Drake May, I don't know if he's ready to handle this. I don't know if you put Caleb Williams on this team, if he's ready to do this either, even though they do have the college experience. So for me, it's got to be Ramondre. He's their best weapon right now. X Factor, Reagan.
Yeah, mine's the wide receiver room in general. There's just so many unproven guys where they've spent a second-round pick this year, a fourth-round pick this year on Baker and Polk. Then last year they get Douglas, who seems like he's got some juice. Then 2 years ago they got Tyquan Thornton in the second round. They still got guys like KJ Osborne, who they just signed, Jalen Rager. So they got a lot of guys that, you know, haven't really proven much in this league, but we've seen that they are talented in a sense. Like Osborne obviously had some success at times with Minnesota, and then Rager, I mean, he's bounced around a lot, but he's a guy that we've seen be able to put up numbers and in specific games, like he'd go off. I mean, obviously a bust for sure, never living up to that capital, but it's just so many question marks. So if these guys can kind of step up and at least one or two of them and really return on where they were drafted and be whether it's Brissett, May, or, you know, you never know. Why am I blanking on his name? Milton. No, it's not going to be Milton. I know that's a joke, been floating around a lot, but since he's getting lit up now in preseason, it's not as prominent in him actually getting in this year. But somebody's got to step up. So they're the biggest X factors for me.
Paul, who do you got?
I got the new coaching staff. I think there's some big question marks with, you know, who is Gerard Mayo, essentially. I mean, he's kind of one of Belichick's guys, but we've seen certain guys, you know, take over at the head coaching spot. For example, Matt Patricia, when he was even in Detroit. Not all these guys develop into head coaches necessarily. And I think that, again, another component of having a competent football team is, I mean, can we have a competent quarterback and a competent head coach? And we don't know if we have either. So I think that that's a big question. Again, Van Pelt on offense, especially now with Kendrick Bourne getting placed on the PUP today. So he's missing the first 4 games, was the number one receiver really in reality. And
yeah,
I know people forget about him.
Forgot to mention him.
Right. Because he gets hurt a lot, but he's a guy that he's pretty good after the catch. He was in Belichick's doghouse a little bit about 2 years ago, I think, and they were sitting him. And, you know, unfortunately, for some reason, they thought they could get away with that when we don't have a guy like Tom to, you know, substitute where he can make it work with anybody. We had Mac Jones, and, you know, that kind of hurt that offense that year. But I'd say just how is he going to make any of these guys pop? I mean, can we get more out of Stevenson again? Can we get him back on track? Can we get Douglas going? Can we get Polk? We feel like we're developing some chemistry and some young talent into an organization that's just trying to press restart. And I guess we'll see how it goes. But those are really two main guys: is Van Pelt and Gerard Mayo.
I love both of your guys' routes. I went with Drake May just because if Drake May does get the opportunity to play, and I'm not saying he wins a lot of games, but if he's putting up numbers and this team does start competing, you're like, all right, we got our guy. We're okay. This year, whatever. Don't care. Let's get a good draft pick next year. Let's use some of these free agent dollars and build up our team, and let's add a weapon at the top of the draft to support our quarterback. If Drake May comes in and he's terrible, well, things are looking bleak in New England because you don't want to have to restart again potentially in 2 years. So for me, Drake May's development is the X factor of this team and for the entire season. Rookie of the year, Reagan.
Yeah, so I kind of went back and forth on this one, but I'm going with Drake May just because odds are if Drake May steps in, that means the Brissett thing didn't work out. They weren't winning any games, and they're like, you know what? Let's just turn to him, see what he's got. And then with Polk, it's kind of hard because it kind of contradicts it, where for him to really be good, that means Brissett's probably good, or May. Otherwise, if this offense isn't great and, he's struggling to get open, doesn't have consistent quarterback play, he's not going to have a good year. So for me, I just went with May here. He's the guy they took at number 3. And I think a lot of his Polk success would come off of May.
Yeah, to rebound off that, I took May as well. I think it's a pretty obvious choice.
Yeah.
Again, at 3, you're hoping you found a guy with some talent. I know they took Mac Jones at 15, so that was a little bit different. But that was a guy they said was, the number 1 pro-ready guy out of college, and also the stuff that I think that that kid does have some talent. But I think May is a guy that we could see potentially be the answer. I'm hoping. But I think it's kind of a no-brainer. If he can start this year, and again, we can just escape and hopefully he doesn't get hurt, or he can develop something going to next year where now we got, a lot of money maybe. And now I know not too many guys are looking to sign there, but if we throw out a bag or two, and that was kind of the idea with Ayuk was, we'll make him the highest paid receiver. We still got insulted in the sense that he doesn't want to play here, but the idea is fun to entertain, that hopefully, they can move forward with developing some talent through the draft, maybe adding a free agent or two and just, rolling with him for the future.
I actually went the route of Polk here because he has the opportunity to be wide receiver 1 out of the gate, which he wasn't at Washington. It was Rome Odunze, but he did have 1159 yards and 10 touchdowns in 2023. He was really good in contested catch situations, really good downfield. He breaks a lot of tackles. He's solid after the catch. So I went with Polk to hedge my bet that Drake May maybe won't play till the second half of the season. But, I mean, obviously, if Drake May plays and he looks good, he's going to be the rookie of the year of this team. We just don't know when he's going to play. So I hedged my bet a little bit and went with Polk.
Some Polk fiction.
Drock, what's your Drock's lock for the New England Patriots? What if it's just the under win total?
It's not the under win total.
Wow, bro. Look at that. That really, the camera looks so much better.
It does look clean with 4.
It's Stevenson to score 10-plus rushing touchdowns in the regular season at +6 honey. +6 honey.
All the touchdowns for the team this year.
I think he scores all the touchdowns for the team this year.
I might get a touch or two. I might get in the games. That's how bad it's going to be. So
that's hilarious. Bro wants to shave his head so bad. He's just throwing out shit on. He's just spewing shit on the wall, hoping it sticks so he can get a new haircut.
It's already gone. It's already gone. So there's not much to cut off, boys. So.
Yo, can we do a little? Can we get you to twist around? You know those TikTok videos? Do a little twirl. No,
you guys have too many TikTok inside jokes for me. But
it's called brain rot.
Yeah, whatever, dude. I don't want to hear about it. Paul, we really appreciate you joining us to talk about the New England Patriots, sir. Hope you had a good time. We appreciate your insight from someone that has witnessed the dynasty, now has to witness this dumpster fire of a team.
Thank you, Colin. And again, I just want to give a quick shout out to Quintel Clements. Hopefully you're tuning in on an episode today. We love you, Q. And, I had to give you one today. So thanks again, boys. This was great. And hopefully we can have a confident product this year in New England.
Yeah, you can come on anytime. If you want to come on and give the Jet Surf flowers like you were before, you're welcome on whenever.
if you get a ring, baby, you know. Thanks, boys.
Shout out Q. Thanks, Paul.
That was awesome.